This is the Schmo with the pro, with the former UFC Middleweight Champion, now one championship vice president, Rich Ace Franklin in Singapore, joining the Schmo Zone Quickies. How we doing?
I'm doing great, man. You know what? I really wish I could just have you follow me around all the time and do my intros for me. That'd be amazing.
Listen, you're deserving of it. And with the way you're traveling these days, world traveler, hey, the Schmo could just fit in your suitcase, yeah?
Yeah, you might go over my weight limit, but I don't know. Maybe I could break you down into two and put you in two separate suitcases. Not sure how comfortable that would be, though.
That'd be quite uncomfortable. But hey, you got the bank account. You can supply the Schmo with the extra luggage price tag. Come on.
I'll just put you in a business class seat next to me.
Hey, we can't complain. Now talk to the Schmo for a second. This is a big weekend. We got one on Prime 2, September 30th. Here we are, Angela Lee going for champ status.
She calls herself, she hashtag mom champ. I had her on my podcast. I actually posted that. Was it yesterday? My time zones are all messed up right now. No, it's today, US time. And we had an awesome conversation. I'm really looking forward to this match, especially after having chatted with her, because I don't know if you would necessarily want to consider this the rubber match. This is their third match between her and Zhang. But initially, Angela was an atomweight champ. Zhang was a strawweight champ. Angela moved up from atomweight to take Zhang's belt at strawweight. She got beat by Zhang. She lost. Then she suffered a second loss in a row at that weight. Then Zhang said, you know what? You failed at taking my belt. I'm coming down to atomweight. I'm going to take your belt. And then Angela ended up beating Zhang at atomweight. So this is their third match, but it's the second one at strawweight again. So I don't know if you consider this a rubber match or not, but I'm telling you what, man, after talking to Angela, she seems to be the most confident Angela I've ever seen. She's like reinvigorated, having the time off from the pregnancy, coming back, facing the champ of the atomweight Grand Prix. That was a 1.5-year story that was centered all around her. And she's like, listen, I'm fighting not just for me now, but I'm fighting to be an example for my daughter. This is she's going to be a tough Angela to beat in this match.
We all know about dad's strength. Is there such thing as mom's strength?
There's got to be some. I'll tell you what, I think mom's strength is probably stronger than dad's strength, because some of the stories that she told me on the podcast about coming back in training and her hormones being off and emotionally dealing with things and getting hit in the breasts while she was breastfeeding. I was like, man, I just didn't realize. I'm like, I got much more respect for a mom who's training like that now than I did before, for sure.
Well, speaking of rubber matches, we got the trilogy between Mikey Musumeci and Cleber Sousa. This is the inaugural flyweight submission grappling champion here in one championship.
Yeah, this will be nice to see these two guys going at it again. Mikey right now, he seems to me tough to beat. So Cleber's going to have to bring something different to the table for him, because Musumeci he's got this momentum behind him right now. So this one is, I've been excited. I've been excited since I saw Musumeci beat Imanari in the last event. And this is the inaugural championship belt in our grappling division. So this one's going to be nice to watch, man.
He's not your prototypical killer. And also this diet of pizza and pasta. Come on, Rich, you got a six-pack. You know that's not sustainable for a guy to be eating that.
Yeah, but he's a lot younger than me too. I might not be able to eat pizza and pasta at at nearly 50 years old at this point in time. Like, I got to maintain my nutrition, but perhaps one day it'll catch up with him. You can't continue putting bad fuel in an F1 car your entire life. I'll just say that.
What's a surprise matchup on this card that all the Schmoes should be knowing about and tuning in for, Rich?
You know what? I'll tell you, there's a couple matchups on this card that I'm really excited for. I think probably the co-main event, the Superbon Typhoon Oshkan match, is going to be, I like the way that these two guys match up. I like stylistically how Superbon is moving backward. He's a very patient fighter. He uses his teep and his jab to keep his opponent off of him, and he sets up that leg kick. And then Typhoon does almost the exact same thing, but the opposite direction. He'll use his teep and his jab to move forward. So I like the way that these two clash their styles. One's coming forward, one's going backward. I think the key for Typhoon is to put Superbon's back against the cage on this, like cutting the ring off so that he can negate his footwork. But this is going to be, it's going to be a tough thing to do. I'm just going to say that Superbon's not easy to corner. I like that matchup. I like, listen, anytime Anissa Mexon's on the card, that's like poetry in motion. And then, I don't know, I would say probably the firework fight to watch is going to be the Timofey Nashjukin Halil Amir fight. Those two guys, I think they're just going to be throwing bombs start to finish, and I definitely don't see that one going the distance.
Pure fireworks right there. 2 months ago in the flesh, the Schmo interviewed you in Los Angeles. It was prior to one on Prime 1. We're talking about the main event. We're talking about DJ and Adriano Moraes. It was the second fight. DJ got the victory. But interestingly enough, prior to the fight, you said what would be next for these two gentlemen. And you said, regardless of the outcome, you'd like to see the rubber match. Now, with both these guys knocking each other out, we got to see that, right, Rich?
Well, absolutely. And not only did they knock each other out, they almost knocked each other out in identical fashion. One championship on their social media did a side-by-side post of the finishes with the knees because DJ he was just so patient when he pursued that knee and galloped across the ring, hit Adriano with that thing right as he hit the cage. And the picture finish on that, they were almost identical. Adrian was still up on his feet. DJ was down on the ground. But now that it finished that way, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see this rematch. There hasn't been talks about the timing of the rematch yet or anything like that internally. I don't know what the competition team is doing with that yet. I don't know if they're going to have DJ compete against someone else and then this circle back around to Adriano, if they're going to do the matchup immediately. I wish I could give you some, better information than that on it, but we just haven't started talking about it yet.
There's a lot of great trades in sports history, but specifically in combat sports history. Where do you rate this Ben Askren DJ trade now all time amongst sports now that it's been a few years back?
I think it's one of the greatest trades ever, especially for one championship, because I don't believe that the UFC ever got quite the mileage out of DJ that they could have or should have, because, and it's not the UFC's fault as much as just the American fans they never really appreciated the smaller fighters the way that they did. I mean, the heavyweights are king of the jungle on the Western side of the world, but over here, the smaller fighters, they move the movement, the activity level, the pressure that's in the matches. So it's more widely respected on this side of the planet. But I'll say this though, we've seen what kind of fan base DJ actually does have in the United States, for that matter, because after one on Prime Video 1, like that event went well beyond what Amazon even thought that the event was going to perform at. Like we hit markers that were beyond whatever they thought that we were going to achieve. So with that being said, like I would just say this, I would look at some point in time, possibly, and this is just me speculating, this is not inside information, this is me talking as a fan, let's be clear about that, but I would love to see the rubber match between DJ and Adriano on US soil when we come to the US next year.
What a banger that would be, and quite the introduction to this U.S. fan base.
Absolutely. So, we're looking to be on ground in the U.S. Sometime in Q2 next year, and so the timing for me as a fan seems right. So I'm putting it out there. I'm letting Chatri know, like, hey, let's let the U.S. fans see this one live in person.
Last time we spoke about Anderson the Spider Silva and him being the greatest middleweight of all time, and what would it take to surpass him? Well, let me ask you this. DJ versus Anderson Silva, legacy, GOAT status. Where do you stand on the better complete fighter pound for pound in the conversation between DJ and Anderson Silva?
Ooh, look, Anderson's amazing. I would like to make an argument for him being the GOAT because he beat me twice and took my title. So it just makes me look that much better. But man, DJ's tough to beat on that discussion for me, because I mean, listen, you see DJ picking guys up and inventing basically submission moves. He picks a guy up, drops him, and then falls into an armbar. And I think he's more of a complete fighter. Like Anderson's not as well known for his grappling game per se. But so if I was on GOAT status, I'm gonna have to give it to DJ. But man, I mean, these guys, they're amongst company of some of the greatest in the world either way. So a case can be made both directions.
We're talking about the richest at the top of the mountain, the top of the food chain. But speaking of Anderson Silva, he's 47 years young. He's got a boxing match against Jake Paul. This is a rare thing for Jake Paul, being respectful for his opponent. How do you see this playing out? You've gone inside the octagon, inside the cage with Anderson the Spider Silva.
I don't know if that's respect or fear, and it should be duly noted that they could be one or the other. But he had better be respectful to a guy like Anderson, because when you look at what Jake Paul's done up to this point, like, look, I have a lot of respect for Jake Paul. He's a smart businessman, and for someone who did not start off in the business as a professional fighter, he's done a great job. He's beaten some great guys. He beat Woodley, he beat Askren. Now, neither of these guys are known to be strikers. I've sparred with Askren before, and he's amazing in the cage, but he's not a boxer. And so they've intelligently picked our opponents. They are now stepping up in the striking category against somebody who, we just had this conversation, arguably is the GOAT in MMA, but it's not. I mean, Anderson has, like, his striking level is beyond that of just your typical MMA athlete. And so Jake has now stepped into a different stratosphere of talent here. And so, respect would probably be his best the best piece of advice I could give him, because, you know, we saw what Anderson did against was it Tito recently, and they were at two different speeds. Yeah, exactly. I mean, not only did he knock him out, but I mean, the way he was slipping and moving, like Tito couldn't even touch him. And so, you know, I think this is one of those matches where if they don't have some sort of gentleman's agreement where Anderson might carry him for a four or five rounds before he decides to knock him out or something like that, he's going to have trouble seeing what kind of speed and raw talent somebody like Anderson does actually have, and what it looks like to actually stand up with a real stand-up fighter.
As the former UFC middleweight champion, there's a lot of noise right now about this prospect named Bo Nickal. UFC contract going through, guys. We know the Penn State accolades in wrestling. Do you see this man as a future UFC middleweight champion?
Possibly. You know, all that stuff boils down to how he adapts when he gets into high level striking. And, you know, I mean, you've seen it in the past with wrestlers. Like, some wrestlers don't mind having punches thrown at their face, and some wrestlers do. And if he's the kind of wrestler that doesn't mind having some punches thrown at his face, you're just going to see him walk through people.
What's the final message you have for all the Rich Franklin fans out there worldwide?
Man, you're giving me a worldwide platform to say this. I don't know, man. Check out One Prime Video. One on Prime Video 2 this coming weekend. Angela Lee versus Zhang Yan. I'll call it the rubber match, even though it's by my definition, it's not technically a rubber match. And I'll be commentating this weekend too. So give me some feedback on how my commentary goes.
You do it all. You're an executive, the broadcaster, the former champion, Rich Ace Franklin. He's the pro. I'm the Schmo Zone Quickies. We are out.